And hey, Boomer, how about that Tom Brady? He's carved up the defense for over 200 yards in the first half. You know, I'll tell you what, welcome to Navigate B2B. I feel like it's the halftime show of an NFL game. Thank you, media, for making ocean freight mainstream. I'm Steve Ferreira, your host of Navigate B2B, and I'll be running the halftime show today on FreightWaves. This is quite a participating game. Two great offenses and defenses, and let's see what the world has in store for us in the second half. But we really have come mainstream, and container shipping. I never thought I'd be here to live this day where the New York Times comes out and says, "Full moon saves the world," and that's what happened. Going back to the Ever Given incident, the full moon. If we hadn't had the full moon, or what they call the king tide, we may be talking about the swan of swan events. But thanks to nature and Tom Brady's arm, we saved the day, and the Ever Given is free. So your halftime report is off to a great start today. I know I'm not sweating as many bullets as I was in this chair last week. So thanks to the King Tide and all the great men and women and professionals that helped get that ship out of there. Now, we're still hearing lots of repercussions about the Ever Given, and there's a lot of breaking news to cover today. And as we go through the halftime report, the field's getting prepared, the band's out on halftime, but you have me, Steve Ferreira, your host, Navigate B2B. I'm CEO of Ocean Audit, a global ocean freight refund consultancy company in Hartford, Connecticut, and shall we say points and places all around the world as well. It's great to be here today on Navigate B2B. First off, very happy Easter, very happy Passover to all my friends and colleagues and family all around the world. It's so nice to have you tuning in. I'm sure we got a huge show today. Why not? Everyone is taking advantage of the beautiful holiday weekend to tune in to FreightWaves TV. And so you've got Navigate B2B, and let's hop right into the show. We've got a real special show planned for you today. So many of you are out there and beneficial cargo owner land, and you're in the locker room now with your coaches, doing some final fine tuning over the game plan for service contracts. Gosh, I love how I work that in. And when you start looking at the service contracting issues this year more than any other year, it's those little tiny details that's really going to be the make or break. You know, I can give you some feedback on how important it is to have a second and tertiary review of your contracting. Not only because in the year of container getting redo and part three, it's very important to make sure that the true intent of what you think you're seeing is what you're seeing. I'll explain. So I've been in situations before, actually really recently, where I said to myself, you know, I'm looking at and evaluating a client's ocean contract for refunds, and I look at the invoice and I say, oh, this is amazing. You know, it's going to be just a humongous refund. And I go to the contract, and there was something contradictory in the contract that actually prohibited triggering the refund. In other words, the chips lie where they lie, and it was not possible to redeem them back from the vendor because of the way the beneficial cargo owner had outlined and agreed to their service contract. Now, this is the tough part, right? I mean, you get into the boilerplate, which is, you know, for those new to our industry out there, the guts of a contract, and then you get into what we call Schedule A, right, where you know your details are on rates and timing and surcharges. You know, you have to really be on your A game. And it's my humble opinion that many beneficial cargo owners, I mean, I don't really kind of consider myself a consultant, but I think that one of the issues on contracting is that clients have to be really on the game to look at external review, whether that's from maritime consultants, experts, feedback from trusted advisors, and so on and so forth. It's really important, I think, to get that extra sense of being. So I think it's all in the details, and I wanted to do something really special to kind of help prove that point. I have a really cool slide I put together called "All in the Details," and I'd like to just share that with the audience right now in terms of how you might want to look at contracting. So all in the details. The important thing about this slide here is finished files are the result of years of scientific study. And you're thinking to yourself, what the heck is he going for? What's that all about? Well, this is just something that you do in your office or your living room. I just want you to take about 10, 15 seconds. Forget about the negotiating service contract part. I want you to focus on the finished files paragraph. And I just want you to do a quick 10-second review. Tell me, or tell yourself, how many of the letter F, like Frank, are in that sentence. Now take a look at it. I want you to count the F's. Okay? And what I found is when I did this exercise years ago, I said to myself, do you know that the average person, 80% of folks, they say there's two F's. There's actually six F's in that paragraph. And there you see how I have them. The mind is designed to see what it wants to see. And the problematic issues, with contracting is that you get a lot of ocean carrier verbiage that's really designed for them and by them that gets by you, right? So I think that this is really, really this. When I saw this, I actually used to put this um, paragraph on the back of my business card, and I'd go into an audit, and I'd ask the client to guess, right? And then I'd say, well, that's why you need me, right? Because you said two, one person said three. Now, of course, I had problems if somebody said six, and I think in my years of doing that, I had one or two people that said six, and they said, "See, that's why you're doing so well in recovery because you found the files and you're the detailed person." But I would say the person that can find the six is probably the person that you want to have a review of your contracting details, just because it's so vital to the process. Okay, so that's what I wanted to say about the contracting. We can kind of move the show forward now and talk a little bit more about Ever Given. So you're watching Navigate B2B. I'm your host, Steve Ferreira, CEO of Ocean Audit. And the next topic I'd like to talk about is the Ever Given. Now, in a few minutes or soon, I'll be introducing another special guest to talk a little bit more about that. But I wanted to just share with you the complex murkiness of the ocean container shipping market. So the breaking news is that the owner of the Ever Given has sued Evergreen. So you're thinking to yourself, well, Ever Given is Evergreen, Evergreen is Ever Given. No, not so. Right? So the way it works in most ship chartering in the ship chartering world is the Ever Given vessel is actually owned by a Japanese company called Shoei Kaisen Kaisha, and Shoei Kaisen Kaisa charters the vessel to Evergreen. Now, there are different techniques in the world of ship chartering where the owner of the vessel could charter the vessel to Evergreen with crew, without crew, with management, without management, with technical management, with fuel, without fuel. So the details in terms of whether Evergreen Marine Corporation, which is the charterer, and the Evergreen that we know in the ocean world, whether or not they chartered the ship with their own crews, or actually there are other vendors out in the world. There's a German company, BSM, which supplies crews and captains to these vessels. And then there's also the combination of the fact that when ships go through very treacherous areas such as ports and channels, and canals that they have to have what we call pilots on, right? But overall, the pilot is in charge of the territorial waters, but overall command of the vessel still lies to the captain. So it's I think you see where I'm going with this. It's a little bit murky, right, in terms of what's happening here. But a lawsuit was just filed yesterday, or I believe, or the day before, where the owner, Shoei Kaisen Kaisa, filed suit against Evergreen and the other entities, ship charterer, ship management company, because the issues are that the Suez Canal Authority is also looking for $1 billion in damages, and is even threatened in some cases to hold the ship. Now, I don't think that that's realistic, but let's just take a quick look at where the Ever Given is right now. She's up in Bitter Lake in the upper part of the canal region. I think we have that shot ready where we can see the Ever Given's current position, and you'll see that she's just still sitting there for technical reasons, still being inspected and still being reviewed for any damages. And I'm sure that there you go. There's a little radar scope where she is. So she's still in there. And the other update on that is Evergreen Marine Corporation's president Eric Shea in Taipei has said that Evergreen Marine is not responsible for any of the delays because Evergreen doesn't guarantee arrival time to their clients. And so, it's a little bit of a slippery slope, obviously, in terms of who's going to end up bearing the results of this. But I think that if we look at the lift that we see on the U.S. East Coast, I think we have I put together a little slide I call Evergreen Eating Their Young, and I think you'll get a kick out of this one because it's not like Evergreen is just the single one uh, entity, that is kind of responsible for delay. What you see here on the chart is actually Evergreen's top clients that use East Coast services. Now, that could be either through the Panama or through the Suez. But I think it's really important to look at this and say that really their top 10 of 15 customers are all NVOCCs, Flexport included. And so, really, I use the title Evergreen Eating Your Young and these like containers, ships eating each other because not only is Evergreen kind of like just getting a kind of a bad PR rap on this. Unfortunately, all of Evergreen's sub clients, in this case the MBOCCs, they have their own set of clients. So it's almost like it's begetting all these different scenarios where all of a sudden the NBOCCs, which are 10 of Evergreen's customers, have another 300 or 400 customers amongst them that they have to appease and keep updated and do alternative things for to improve the client's um, potential outcome of the situation. So it's a very interesting situation. You don't just have direct importers as Evergreen's top clients on the U.S. East Coast service. This is the U.S. East Coast service I'm referring to. It's NVOCC City, proverbially and literally. So let's get into the real issue on the breaking news on force majeure and what's happening. I have a really interesting graphic. I think you guys will really enjoy to help kind of kick off this next topic. So force majeure, the Ever Given. There you see the ship when she was still trapped in the canal. And force majeure is been declared by not Evergreen, but by the owner, Shoei Kisen Kaisha. And to help us make sense of what force majeure is and what happens next, you'll have my special guest from Geneva, Switzerland, uh, Dr. Lina Jasutiene, the Managing Director of Recoupex. Lina, welcome to Navigate B2B.
Hello, Steve. Hello, everyone. Happy to be with you.
Hey, happy Friday. Happy holidays to you, Lina. Lina, help us make a little sense out of first off, the word force majeure is obviously it's a French word. Take us a little bit, give us a little introduction. What exactly force majeure means?
Well, force majeure is a cause which shipping line cannot handle, cannot anticipate, cannot predict. So anything which is outside of a regular vessel control. But here, what is interesting in every given case is the general average declaration, which was completely unexpected for lawyers and also for clients. We have been hearing a lot of general average threats lately, in particular after one APUS casualty, which was also outstanding and excessive loss of containers collapse in the Pacific. So going back to a given situation and general average, which is so old as a maritime legal concept, to make it very simply for BCOs and for your audience, it is that general average requires that ship owner and cargo owner proportionally contribute to the cost and all amounts which was paid to save vessel and to save cargo on board. So it means that now all cargo owners will have to contribute to general average fund. This is the latest news.
And how does it affect BCOs with insurance and without insurance? Are there different scenarios with insurance? Obviously, without insurance, people are going to be more at risk. But can you give us a sense of what it might mean for the average beneficial cargo owner?
To start with, for average beneficial cargo owner, there will be two implications. So first implication is that now carrier has a lien on your cargo. If you don't pay contribution to general average fund, you as a cargo owner cannot release your cargo. The second implication is that carriers basically don't have any more responsibility for cargo damage or loss or even delay because they declare the general average and as a force majeure as peril of the sea. So they are not responsible for these matters anymore. For uninsured cargo owners, it means that if you want to get your cargo, you will have to contribute the percentage of the loss, which will be designated by the general average adjuster. You will also have to bear any detention, demurrage, or storage costs at the port, whichever will arise. For insured cargo owners, your insurance, marine insurance, will pay demurrage, detention, storage fees, as well as insurance bond. Which is very interesting and important to note, marine insurance usually don't cover delay in delivery. So don't anticipate that your marine insurance will pay a delay of your late delivered cargo, unless it is perishable cargo and you have special arrangements with your marine insurance. So those two are primary reasons and primary distinctions between insured and uninsured cargo owners.
Well, Lina, when you look at the events that have happened, I think this has been one of the biggest years for Trans-Pacific cargo overboard due to the stacks and the weather conditions, and certainly the Ever Given incident, and as I said in the opening of my show, the just the really incredible attention that the incident has worldwide. Um, do you believe that this creates a new opportunity for beneficial cargo owners to reset themselves and to, we use the phrase here in the States to lawyer up when they need something legally, but maybe to insurance up? I mean, what would be some of the real important takeaways so that, if I'm a huge footwear importer or a huge electronics importer, and I never want to see this impact my P&L. What are the steps that I would be working on right now, or I should be working on now?
Unfortunately, here, Steve, there is no magic bullet, but there is common sense. So there might be three takeaways. First takeaway is that casualties, groundings is a regular practices of a business. Just grounding in the Suez was such an excessive, which made a ripple effect to the global economy. But other than that, smaller casualties happen time from time. So it is important for BCOs not to start panicking now if your cargo is on the vessel of ever given, or if it is behind on the other vessels and is being delayed. Don't panic. Casualties were happening and it will also happen. We don't anticipate it will be more frequent or it will be more disastrous. We don't think this will be the case in the future. The second part is make contingency plans. If your cargo is on Ever Given, inform your clients about delays. Anticipate delays yourself, in particular if cargo is going to the European ports. Anticipate at least a few months of delays and prepare for it now. And the third part is administrative. Gather documents which you know that general average adjuster will ask: commercial invoice, bill of lading, packing list, and just make sure it is important for your customers and for your team to understand casualties happen. If you have insurance, you are covered. If you don't have insurance, it is just bad luck. But you cannot prevent or you cannot prepare for a future.
Lena, it's almost as if your thought being that when a bomb goes off, there's no real sense to diffuse it, right? I like what you're saying, and I totally think that what Lena is getting at in terms of having the contingencies. Obviously, you should have had contingencies because we're in container geddon, so we're in our own subculture as it is, and then to have an incident like this happen, it's like a bomb going off. But you should have had some contingencies lined up. Lena, I think that when BCOs look at this, beneficial cargo owners look at this, some could be exposed for hundreds of thousands of dollars, and certainly the delays in getting product. I mean, we heard one major furniture importer had hundreds of containers impacted. We've heard that people are trying to sell last spring's fashion this year on cargo that was delayed last year. From your seat at Recoupex, and you look at beneficial cargo owners and what they can do, to make the contingencies. How might they sharpen their contingency planning and make it a little bit more fine tuned than just kind of going out there and saying have contingencies? Are there any other pieces of advice you could give my audience?
Yes. So first piece of advice is operational, which both of us we already covered. Second piece of advice is legal. There are still ways to challenge general average
Great
declaration for
idea. Great
ever
thought.
given.
Great thought.
Absolutely. There are ways to look for more favorable jurisdictions. Egypt is one of the jurisdictions which heavily supports cargo owners. So if you have many containers on board of this vessel, it is worth exploring litigating in Egypt. And that's all legal or commercial contingencies.
Wow. That is really an eye opener on that last one about Egypt. I know that they seem to be very proactive in trying to nip this in the bud a little bit. Um, Lena, do you think that there is any other alternative theory in terms of why the Ever Given is still in the Bitter Lake Canal region? I mean, I know she's probably undergoing tests and whatnot, but do you think that there's any kind of potential hold on the vessel? I know I don't want to speculate. Any thoughts on why she might still be there?
From my experience working on a carrier side and working as well on cargo interest side, Suez Canal Authority is notorious for putting a lot of commercial pressure on vessel owners, also to settle their claims at the higher level possible. And now, when everybody looking at Evergreen, so it looks like that Suez Canal Authority will get a better deal. Second part is that it's just basic practice. You need to investigate cause of the damage. We have heard about speculations about the wind. We heard about speculations engine outage, but what we haven't heard is that there might be as well crew fatigue involved. And if it's proven to be the case, then entire general average declaration collapse, because then it means the vessel was not seaworthy and the fault for the casualty is on the vessel owner.
It's amazing you say that because I know the Suez Canal Authority chairman Osama Rabi came out and said that their Suez Canal pilot that charters that goes on the vessel in that water was not responsible, and the ultimate control obviously is with the ship's captain.
Yes.
But we don't know. There could be technical issues. The ship does have that wind effect as a sail, but that's nothing new. And certainly the Suez has always been a bit volatile with weather. So I think we still have to see some of the outcomes, and I don't want to speculate on why she's still in Bitter Lake Canal. But I do think it's interesting that these lawsuits have come in. I know Egypt's looking for $1 billion, and so it's a complex issue. And I think that's part of what my audience really needs to understand is this murky world. You and I lurk in some very attractive niches, and it's times like this where clients need someone like myself for the finite levels of contracting and refunding, and they need somebody like you and your expertise in claims, cargo insurance, and damages. So I really want to thank you for being my special guest today, Lina. As always, you're just awesome to have us, and coming from Geneva, on a weekend. I appreciate your time. How can people watching our show find out more about you and Recoupex?
Audience can always hit me on LinkedIn or shoot an email at Lina, Lina, at Recoupex.com. I will gladly support fellow industry peers.
Well, I mean, you're an amazing a beacon of hope for I think a lot of clients that come into these issues, and we've seen more now than we've ever seen. And my prediction on July, August, September, October this year is I may be knocking the trend against other experts, but I believe that we've not seen the worst yet in terms of orders. So my friend John Monroe has reported factory orders in China are quite full. And I think we're going to see an incredible flow this summer like we've never expected. And as we start to explore that, we're certainly not out of the woods yet by any stretch of the imagination. And, Lena, one of the things that's really interesting as well, just to kind of editorialize on it, with the charter markets being what they are, there's a lot of ships out there, to be quite candid, that are older, more or less mechanically sound. We had the Maersk vessel that had an engine out, or I think it was a Maersk vessel or MSC. Pardon me, I don't want to speculate. But I think that, the time's now, obviously, to act on getting your house in order. So, Lena, your policies, or your procedures in terms of how you can tackle or how BCOs can tackle this side of the fence are more welcome than ever. And I want to thank you again for all your time today.
Thank you so much, Steve, for the opportunity.
Well, you've been watching Navigate B2B. I'm Steve Ferreira, your host. You've been watching my dialogue with Lina Jasutiene, Managing Director of Recoupex, all the way from Geneva, Switzerland. I'm pleased to announce that we will be having some excellent port series coming up where I talk to port leaders and port directors, and we'll get their impressions on the market conditions taking place in their geographical areas. You'll start to see some really exciting things coming in through Navigate B2B. And as I said at the beginning, I want to wish all my great friends, followers, and fans and families out there happy Easter, happy Passover. We'll see you next week on Navigate B2B.